Hi guys, last episode we had a little look at S3 config with Archaius legacy. This episode we're going to have a little look at Google Juice and using Archaius2 and wiring Archaius2 and Archaius legacy with Google Juice and the Archaius bridge module. Okay, if you just look at our POM XML, I've got a few new dependencies. I've got the Google Inject, Google Juice dependency. As before, I've got the Archaius AWS dependency. I've got the Archaius2, Archaius1 bridge dependency, and the Archaius2 juice dependency, and the rest Archaius2 core in the Amazon AWS S3 stuff. Okay, I've got this the code from last episode, which deals with getting a S3 config source using Archaius legacy, and I've just got that in a static method here. Okay, and if I want to use Archaius2, if I want Archaius2 to support Archaius legacy, it's really simple. All we need to do is create an injector, Google Juice injector, juice.create injector, and we use ready-made modules for us. The Archaius module, which is going to sort out our our system properties, our environment properties. It's going to wire everything up for us, simple as. And also our static Archaius bridge module, and that is going to handle our legacy Archaius legacy stuff. Okay, and that's literally all you need to do. You need to do this right at the start of the injection process, as if you try and install legacy modules after this, you're going to get all kinds of errors. But there we go, that's literally all you need to do. So if I try and load a config, use the legacy configuration manager to load properties, and we're just going to use our created S3 config class. Create dynamic S3 config. Okay, literally just the code that I wrote from last episode. Okay, and that'll be that. I can literally start using it. Let's start using the actual Archaius2 config object. Config. I need to inject the config. Use some constructor-based injection here. Config equals config. And there we go. And now I can just create the app. Injector dot get instance. App.doit, and within that I'm just going to use our config object to get the feature description. Get string feature desk, and there we go. So I'm using the Archaius2 config object to get some legacy config, and there we go. S3 feature description, which is on the S3 bucket, which is in this config.properties here, living in this sleeper config bucket. Did all that last episode, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. Okay, and simple as there. We can create our own modules as well. So the Archaius2 module, and we can extend abstract. If you're used to Spring, this abstract module here in Google Juice is basically like having the Spring configuration annotation. That's basically the equivalent. At least that's how I think of it. And we're going to do provides, which is just like the app bean annotation in Google in Spring Boot. Provides public config get remote config. And in here, I'm just going to copy and paste what I did a couple of episodes ago. If you this is just the code that's going to get some config from my file system, config.properties, living here. Okay. I need to wire this module in. Archaius2 module. Spelled it wrong. Never mind. Okay. If I run that now, it's not going to work. Why is that? Binding to config. All right, it's already configured. Right. Yeah. This Archaius module already creates a config object for us, but we need to add a remote config to our layer, and we use that with an annotation. We do that with an annotation. Create a remote layer here. So we're adding a remote layer, and it's going to poll our config.properties on our file system. Run it again. Here we go, a remote description. And if we delete that, defaults to our S3 config with Archaius legacy. They're simple as. Apparently this the bridge module is quite brittle. I don't use it at all in any of the projects that I do, so but this is how you can use it. I'm not sure if it's the best way to use it, to be honest with you, but there we go. We can also, we don't have to just work with config objects everywhere. I do have this features interface, and we're going to use the config proxy factory to create the proxy features for us, and we can use that in our app rather than the config object itself. So let's sort that out. Okay. Now that provides public features. And like a couple of episodes before, we're going to return a new config proxy factory. Config, not going to bother with the decoder, and default property factory dot from config. New proxy. Okay, if you haven't watched the config proxy factory episode, watch that now. It's pretty good. Config. Don't need to worry about injecting that or anything. Google Juice handles that for us. And now we can just change this. We can get rid of this and instead inject our features proxy. There we go. Don't need to use the config object anymore. So now just features.get feature description, and that should just work for us. And there we go, getting the S3 config. And if we change this again, change back to a remote description, and there we go. And there we go. That's just the basics of using Google Juice with Archaius2 and Archaius Legacy. It's not a very long tutorial actually. What's that? 6 minutes? 10 minutes. There we go. I think I'm going to leave it here with Archaius. I'm going to move on to a different tutorial now within the Netflix OS space. Probably going to go on to Nebula next. Okay. And there we go. Thanks for watching.